Hey folks, how you doing? This is a quick video about a housing plan I have to solve problems with housing in a country like the UK and maybe similar countries. So I should explain that this isn't really part of my major plan for the whole world. That plan is called Equal Groups, and this is a bit different to that. So this plan I'm talking about is what I would do with housing if I was in charge of housing but nothing else. So everything else sort of stays the same sort of market economy that we're in. But I'm just supposing I can do something about housing. What would I advise us to do? It's this following plan. So what I'm kind of driving at with this plan is that we have a country where housing is not guaranteed. So if you run out of money, basically you quite often fall through the cracks and don't have a house. So how a home. So your homes are not guaranteed. The roof over your head is not guaranteed. There are some things they do to help you if you don't have a home, but it's not really ideal. Now contrast that with the health service, where if you need medical help in the UK, you get it and it's kind of guaranteed to everybody, and it seems to be a huge success. Everybody's extremely happy about it, and with housing, it's like something even more important to health than the health service stuff that is being not guaranteed. So if you end up without a home, you're gonna die faster than if you go without medical attention at a normal time. Obviously, if you're in a medical crisis, you probably need medical help more than a roof over your head. But normal times, you're going to probably your health is going to suffer worse from not having a shelter, especially in a country like the UK with the kind of weather we have. So, what's the plan? Well, basically, there's a few elements to it. So one element to it is that we should subsidize places that are not so sought after in the UK with money from places that more sought after. So what I'm suggesting here is London gets taxed somehow, and that money goes to cities which seem to be emptying of people at the moment, like Liverpool or Newcastle. So the southeast basically gets kind of has to subsidize the north and so on. That way, no city will be really more sought after than another. So that's part of the housing problem, I think, solved with that. Now, but it doesn't stop there. I've got some radical further ideas. So I think every house should be owned by the state and rented from the state. So, but the twist is that I think that half the average rent should be zero. So that's pretty weird. So the half the people roughly should be actually getting money from the state for their living accommodation because they're living in a less attractive kind of place, like a smaller and lower quality kind of housing. So that's one thing. So the thing will kind of pay the rent will just pay for the negative rent. So it kind of won't really cost anything. So how does the state work out the rent in a certain place? Well, there's some other complications here. So when a person goes to rent a when somebody leaves a property and goes to live somewhere else, the property becomes vacant. Then it would go on the market. On this, well, just go on one sort of government website that everyone can look at, but the prices people will face will be different for different people. So that's a complication. So if you're like a couple gonna rent a place, you'll get a different price to a single person. If you're kids, there'll be different prices for that. Also, there will be different prices for people with different levels of savings, and there will also be different prices for people with different levels of income. So they look at your situation, and they won't do it sort of individually. There won't be a person individually deciding each person's price, but there will be an algorithm where you write in what kind of person you are, what your income is, and or they might already know what your income is and what your savings are. So basically, poor people, people with low income, and people with low savings will face lower prices. And so, to be precise, what we would be trying to do is, like, in every little locality, so say every little sort of district of 100 houses, I'm just talking about a few streets there, but that detail doesn't really matter. But if for every kind of small little area, we would want it so there aren't any, that the kind of average savings people have and the average income is like the national average. So there's a kind of range of rich and poor people in every area. So it's not like it is now, where we have rich areas and poor areas. I'm doing that so it isn't, so housing isn't this divisive thing. So the way it is now, people with high income end up sort of segregating themselves from people with low income, which I think is pretty harmful. Also, it means that housing is not, like, poor people don't get worse housing. Basically, it's the housing thing would be a bit like the health service, where it's something that's just totally independent about how well you're doing sort of financially in life, which I think is kind of cool, because as I said at the start, this is something that's just probably more important to your health than anything else. Perhaps more than anything else, apart from eating. So, but anyway, more important than actually getting medical treatment is in hospitals and so on. So, as I said, we'll make it so the prices will be such that there won't be rich areas and there won't be poor areas. And lastly, the prices will be done so that each area will be either equally densely populated. That's one way we could do it. Or if there's a difference in density of population, it's just purely due to where the housing is. So we could, like, the density of housing. So, for example, we could decide that city centre kind of areas will have no spare bedrooms, and places out in the middle of the country will have, on average, half the bedrooms will be spare bedrooms. There'll be something like mimicking what it is now. Maybe that is a good way to do it. Or we could make it so that the sort of number of spare bedrooms in any house would be kind of, the expected number of spare bedrooms in a given house in the country will be the same regardless of what area it's in. So, as I said earlier, the prices, people, like a couple looking for a house, and a house, family with kids and so on, or a group of people, group of adults looking for a house, they'll get different prices. So we can tailor those prices to get the kind of densities of population that I was just talking about. So the result will be that housing will be sorted. It will be a bit like the health service. If you say you're a young person, you got no money, whatever, you know you will get a house. You will have the option, or not necessarily a house, rather. So you will get a home. It could be a flat or whatever. Now, if you want to make a little bit of pocket money, you can live in a small place that's not so nice, or if you want, or there's nowhere near a train station or whatever. If you want to, if you're prepared to pay a bit of extra, you can get a better house. But if you don't want to do either of those things, you will be guaranteed a free house. I think this system would be much better than what we're living in now, which is a huge scramble for houses. It's all incredibly divisive and downright dangerous. So, that's my solution for housing. I hope you find it interesting. All the best.